takes my body higher. Takes my body higher.
Welcome to the video, guys. So this video is addressing whether sumo is better conventional. Is conventional better than sumo? Is sumo cheating? So I'm gonna just show kind of the differences between sumo deadlift and a conventional deadlift. And now for me personally, I started out pulling conventional, but I now pull sumo just because of the less strain it puts on my back. But I will show the differences between a conventional deadlift, the modified sumo conventional deadlift, and the sumo deadlift. So 3 different deadlift variations you can do. And so I'll just kind of take you guys through the main differences of all 3 of those. Alright, so conventional deadlift. This is the style for conventional. Here. Then you have the sumo. And depending on people and their limb lengths and how flexible they are in their hips, sumo can be anywhere from here to all the way out here. Conventional here with your hands between your legs. Conventional outside your legs. And then you have the modified sumo. So instead of here, you're like here. It's almost like conventional deadlift, except your hands are still going to be between your legs. Here. 28. 28? Yep. Okay. 25. 26. Okay. Alright, so I tried to show like the differences in ranges of motion between sumo, modified sumo, and conventional. Do like kind of like the math behind the differences in the mobility ranges. The percentage is so small. It's like 9 to 20% decrease in the range of motion, and to me that's so minimal that you can't call out that sumo is so much easier and it decreases the range of motion. But I will say that limb length plays a role. So like if you have someone that's super short, they have really like short legs, and they're able to spread their legs like pretty much out to the weights, yeah, their range of motion is going to be tiny. A lot of people will like bash people and say like, oh, that guy pulled a 700-pound deadlift, but he pulled it sumo. And it's just like, have you ever pulled sumo? Like it's not as easy because you need to have that hip mobility and flexibility in your hips. I know when I started to pull sumo that it would destroy my hips just because my hips weren't used to being like stretched like that and picking up that amount of load. Personally, I can probably pull more conventional than I can sumo, but I choose to pull sumo just because it's less strain on my back. Alright, so one of the differences between a conventional and a sumo is being able to incorporate using your quads. So when you're doing a conventional pull, you're using more of your posterior chain, so more of your back, your glutes, your hamstrings. And when you're doing sumo and you're turning your knees out, you're able to turn your knees out, so therefore you can incorporate a little bit of the quads. But when you're in the conventional stance here, you can't get down into this position to load your quads without pushing the bar forward. The more forward out the bar comes, the harder it is to pull. So when you are doing a sumo, you're able to turn your knees out, whereas in conventional, you're not really able to do that because you're not able to push your knees out without pushing the bar out forward. So that's a plus side of doing sumo. Alright, so for sumo, you basically put wherever your hips will allow you to go. So for me, I cannot come out here because I'll split my crotch in half. So I pretty much find it where it's comfortable. So this is why sumo is a little bit harder, just because you have to engage your hip flexors so much more. And load the glutes and the hamstrings. Whereas in conventional, you can't turn your knees out, essentially. So you're basically using your posterior chain to complete the lift. And you're using a lot more of your back to pull the lift. So your next question might be, why would you want to pull the modified sumo? So like I was saying before, how I cannot spread them. Some people don't have that hip mobility, so they'll modify it, and it's basically like a conventional pull, except you're able to turn your knees out just slightly, not as much as if you're farther away. But you're still able to kind of incorporate both components of the sumo and the conventional.
I love the way Kirk.
I will come back and do
Sure. Y'all had some joints. Y'all always back. Sure. Wait.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you look more than the good BET awards.
Man, you know, I don't know who's out.
Yeah.
What do you think the main differences are between sumo and conventional?
When I pull sumo, I feel it in my legs more, and when I pull conventional, I feel it in my back more.
Okay, so why did you choose to go from conventional to sumo pulling?
Well, I feel like I can pull more sumo, and because I feel it in my butt more and I want a bigger butt.
Hey! Bradley here. What do you think the difference between sumo and conventional pulling is?
There is no big secret between if you should pull conventional or sumo. I pull sumo. That's a lie. I pull conventional. I always pull conventional. It's always feel the best. It's really similar to like, should you squat narrow or should you squat wide stance? It's going to come down to body types, come down to preferences, and it's going to come down to what you enjoy the most. Also, whatever muscles are more developed or underdeveloped, so that could also give you give you a clue on what you need to work on. And just because you pull sumo or conventional in a contest doesn't mean you should never do the opposite. So I always pull conventional during contests, but I also incorporate sumo as an accessory to my conventional deadlift. So again, I mean, some of the greats are going to pull the same no matter what. If you look at Ed Cohen, he pulls around 900 conventional or sumo.
Eddie.
He tore his adductor, so he switched to conventional and still pulled like 900 pounds. So, I mean, if you're strong, you're going to be strong. You just got to figure out what works the best for you.
Also, it's much easier to touch and go with conventional, in my opinion. So why did you switch from pulling conventional to sumo?
I started pulling conventional, I liked it the most, did pretty well at it. But I'm starting to switch over to like a modified sumo, so I'm having a wider stance, but just enough so that my feet are outside my hands. It's easier on the low back, especially for training, because I wanted to increase the amount of training. I deadlift 3 times a week now, so I've been able to recover faster. Also, I have really long femurs proportionally, so just having the wider stance is more of a benefit to me, and just the fact that I have to lift it least or less from the ground also gives me an advantage if I were to compete. Also, because sumo seems to target more the adductors and the glutes specifically, those are something I've been avoiding, and conventional hits more specifically the hamstrings and the lower back, so just switching over, I'm doing it more to focus on my weaknesses, so overall both of my lifts will get stronger.
Alright guys, so to break it all down, the different styles of pulling are conventional, sumo, or modified sumo. And the debate between which way should I pull, which is the best way to pull, is sumo cheating? It doesn't matter. You know, at the end of the day, like a 700-pound deadlift is a 700-pound deadlift. It doesn't matter how you pull it, you still pulled the weight. So, I hope this video was informative for you guys. And like I said, find a position to pull from that you're most comfortable in and you're most powerful in, and utilize that, maximize that. And say you do pull conventional style normally, try throwing in sumo as an accessory on a different day just to increase your conventional pull. So again, hope this was informative for you guys, and hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next Sunday School episode. or sumo's a little bit tougher.
Yeah, you mean sumo. You're
Yeah.
before you said conventional.
Oh, okay. Styles for sumo. Conventional.
Sumo.
No, back to me. Go ahead. Please hurry, it's so heavy.
No.
No?
Always embrace hip hop, but you never shut the weight. You never stop weight.